Welcome to Simply Darker. If you crave spine-chilling content, hit that like button and subscribe to join us on this journey into darkness. Let's dive right in. Neve Campbell ultimately played the role of Sidney Prescott in Scream, but Drew Barrymore was initially cast for the role. However, Barrymore insisted on playing the character of Casey, who was a victim in the opening scene, to create a sense of unpredictability for the audience. Despite being top-billed and appearing on the poster, her role was actually a brief one, intended to mislead viewers. Drew Barrymore insisted on shooting all of her scenes barefoot since her part in the movie was brief, and she doesn't like wearing shoes. In order to keep animal lover Drew Barrymore scared and crying, Wes Craven told her real-life stories of animal cruelty. Neve Campbell was originally going to say no to the film as she is especially afraid of horror movies. But when hearing her co-star Skeet Ulrich from The Craft was going to appear, she agreed. David Arquette revealed that he presumptuously turned down the role of Billy in favor for playing Dewey. Courtney Cox actively sought out the role of Gale Weathers in the production. She was eager to play a character who was the complete opposite of her usual friend character, specifically a bitch. The producers were hesitant to consider her for the role, as they had a different image of her in mind. However, Cox persisted and continued to lobby the studio, confident in her ability to convincingly portray the character. Her determination eventually paid off, and she was ultimately cast in the role of Gale Weathers. Matthew Lillard landed the role of Stu Maker in Scream purely by chance. While accompanying his girlfriend to a different audition in the same building, casting director Lisa Beach spotted Lillard in the hallway and offered him the opportunity to audition for the part. Lillard fully embraced the role and approached it with incredible ferocity. Despite the character being somewhat underwritten, Lillard's portrayal added depth and dimension to Stu, ultimately making him one of the film's most memorable characters. Screenwriter Kevin Williamson credits Lillard's performance for elevating the character and bringing him to life in a way that exceeded his original vision. At the beginning of the movie, when Casey's parents come home to find something is wrong, her father tells her mother to go to the Mackenzies, which is the same thing Laurie told Lindsay and Tommy to do in Halloween. When the killer smashes his head through a window and Casey hits him in the face with the phone, director Wes Craven is actually wearing the costume and was really hit in the face. The scene where the killer is sneaking up behind Randy is the only one where the person in the costume is actually one of the actors. Skeet Ulrich specifically asked if he could wear the costume for one scene. The movie was shot in just 42 days. The iconic Ghostface mask was inspired by a painting called The Scream by Edvard Munch. The movie's opening scene featuring Drew Barrymore was shot in one take. The scene where Tatum is killed by being crushed in the garage door was a last-minute addition to the script, and she was originally supposed to survive her death scene. The movie's final scene, where Sidney is attacked one last time by Billy, was inspired by the ending of Carrie. Tatum, played by Rose McGowan, wears a 10 jersey shirt, the same type of shirt that Johnny Depp's character Glenn wore in Wes Craven's A Nightmare on Elm Street. However, McGowan was unaware of the reference until years later. There's a doll hanging in the background of a diorama in the attic that resembles Casey, and across the room you can spot a doll in the chair that could represent her boyfriend Steve, indicating that Stu had some planning before the murders with Billy. Randy mentions that Jamie Lee Curtis was nominated for a Saturn Award for her role in Terror Train, while Neve Campbell herself would go on to win a Saturn Award for her performance in Scream in 1997. Linda Blair, who starred in the classic horror film The Exorcist, appeared in Scream as an auburn-haired reporter. She had also previously worked with Wes Craven in Summer of Fear. Rose McGowan was so small that when she was in the pet door, she kept falling out. They had to nail her shirt to the inside of the garage door to prevent her from falling out. When the phone slips out of Billy's hand and hits Stu's head, Wes Craven kept it in because of Lillard's realistic reaction. It was completely unintentional. To create a distinct look for her character Tatum in Scream, Rose McGowan opted to dye her natural brown hair blonde. This was done to provide a clear contrast between her character's appearance and that of Neve Campbell's character. On the other hand, Drew Barrymore wore a wig for her scene in the film. During the filming of a pivotal scene in Scream, Sidney managed to stab Billy in the chest with an umbrella while he was distracted. To prevent any actual harm, the umbrella used in the scene had a retractable tip, and Skeet Ulrich, who played Billy, wore a protective vest. However, during a subsequent stabbing, the tip missed the vest completely and struck Ulrich in the chest, hitting an old scar from his previous open-heart surgery. The resulting scream of agony from Ulrich was so authentic that director Wes Craven decided to keep it in the final cut of the film. KNB Effects created over 50 gallons of fake blood, normally composed of corn syrup and food dye. If you watch closely during the part where Gale is knocked out by Billy, you can see that Dewey is not breathing when Gale lands on him because Dewey was intended to be dead. But director Wes Craven filmed the scene at the end of the film, where Dewey is alive and being taken to the hospital, just in case he changed his mind about killing Dewey. After seeing the chemistry between Arquette and co-star Courtney Cox, and how test audience loved the character Dewey so much, Wes decided to keep him alive. During the filming of the scene where Gale crashes in Scream, the van stunt was intended to have the vehicle flip off the road immediately after leaving it. However, instead of flipping, the van continued to move forward and ultimately crashed into some nearby trees. Fortunately, the stuntwoman involved in the scene emerged unharmed and without injury. In an interview with Inside Story, Wes Craven shared the intriguing motivation behind his decision to direct the film after turning it down. Craven recounted a unique encounter where a 12-year-old child confronted him and openly criticized his recent work for going soft. This struck a chord within Craven, igniting a renewed determination. He called up Bob Weinstein and said, "If that job's still open, I'll take it." Henry Winkler portrayed the character of Principal Himbry. Despite delivering an impressive performance, he went uncredited so that the young main cast could receive more attention during the movie's promotions. With guidance from Wes, Winkler was able to fully embody his character and effectively execute the principal's downfall on screen. The filming of the scene where Ghostface appears in Winkler's eye was quite time-consuming and took about 2 hours to shoot. Wes Craven, the director, makes a cameo appearance in the movie as the janitor wearing the iconic red and green sweater and brown fedora, a reference to his most famous creation, Freddy Krueger. The killer's voice on the phone was provided by actor Roger L. Jackson, who never met any of the other actors during filming to preserve the mystery of the killer's identity. The movie was originally given an NC-17 rating due to its violence, but the filmmakers made cuts to the film to receive an R rating instead. Scream was a massive box office success. In the scene where Sidney sees Dewey has been stabbed, she initially utters no, but the audio is dubbed to say Dewey instead. Dewey! When Gale drives away after Kenny's body falls on her windshield, there is an overhead shot where Gale is yelling, but her mouth doesn't move at all.
Oh God, Kenny, I'm sorry! Get off my shield!
The very first time Sidney is ever attacked by Ghostface, she gets headbutted into a daze. Sidney is able to get away and tries to escape for the front door, only to find out it's locked. At this point, she dodges a knife that strikes the door and gets bent out of shape, which is very noticeable at the right pause moment. After chasing Sidney upstairs, the knife is in perfect shape again. A continuity discrepancy occurs when Billy Loomis stabs Casey Becker. Her blood doesn't become visible until she collapses to the ground. In a separate scene, Tatum Riley fights off Ghostface using beer bottles, which are visibly on him as he attacks her. However, a moment later, she ducks, and Ghostface's costume appears completely dry. During the intense living room fight between Sidney and Stu, Stu's stunt double becomes visible a few times, wearing a wig that is longer than Stu's actual hair at that time. When Neil Prescott falls out of the closet, upon closer observation, the hands of a crew member pushing items out after him can be spotted.
Dad.
During the stabbing scene with Casey, keen-eyed viewers may have noticed that the knife used was a highly noticeable prop knife with a retractable blade. This detail did not go unnoticed, and it was brought to the attention of Wes after the release. As a result, in the sequel, when filming the movie within the movie called Stab, the filmmakers deliberately made the stabbing scene even more apparent, serving as a subtle homage to the previous film. Before the release of the movie Scream, a Father Death costume, which included the mask seen in the film, was available for purchase at various stores like they described in the movie. In the police station scene, Dewey is shown bringing in this costume. Although the production had the rights to use the Father Death mask in the movie, they initially went through 20 different mask and concepts design before settling with the Ghostface mask they modified. However, Weinstein, one of the executives, was not satisfied with the mask's appearance and demanded that the film be reshot with new masks. The production team was able to negotiate and showcase the teaser opening, which convinced the executives to stick with the original mask design. The mask used in Casey's death and seen with Himbry's office was one of the 7 that the production team made themselves. The rest of the movie, they used the Fun World mask, which was part of the Fantastic Faces collection that had various versions. Initially, the production team considered making the ghost costume entirely white to resemble a ghost, but they deemed it unrealistic for the killer to wear such a bright outfit. They were afraid it could be mistaken for a Klan outfit, so they decided to stick with the original black costume design. During his time as a struggling screenwriter, Kevin Williamson worked as a house-sitter. One night, while house-sitting, he stumbled upon a chilling TV special on the gruesome Gainesville Ripper. As he watched, an unsettling feeling washed over him. To add to the eerie atmosphere, Williamson realized he had accidentally left one of the house's windows open. The combination of being alone in an unfamiliar place, witnessing a program about horrifying murders, and discovering the open window overwhelmed Williamson. Paranoia took hold, and he couldn't shake the sense that an intruder might be lurking inside the house. In a phone call with a friend, they joked about horror movies as Williamson searched the home to ensure its safety. During this search, Williamson's imagination soared, giving birth to the concept of a script called Scary Movie. Initially, Williamson wrote an 18-page script treatment featuring a young woman alone in a house, tormented by a masked killer who eventually attacks her. He stored this treatment away and shifted his focus to writing the script for Teaching Mrs. Tingle, which would later become his directorial debut. Although Williamson successfully sold the Tingle script, the project faced various challenges during its development. Subsequently, Kevin Williamson decided to revisit his earlier Scary Movie treatment, devoting significant time and effort to transform it into a fully fledged screenplay. Driven by his creative vision, he outlined ideas for 2 sequels, envisioning a comprehensive franchise. In June of 1995, Williamson's agent achieved a significant breakthrough, securing a deal with Miramax and successfully selling them the script. Recognizing the immense potential of the project, acclaimed horror filmmaker Wes Craven was enlisted to direct the film. With Craven's expertise and creative vision, a pivotal decision was made to change the title to Scream. This marked a significant turning point in the film's development, setting the stage for a profound transformation within the horror genre. The legacy of Scream endures, leaving an indelible mark on the landscape of horror cinema.